It is 1984, and a new front in the television news wars is beginning.
News Star 9.
We got reporters, they got reporters. We got typewriters, they got typewriters. We got a helicopter, they got a helicopter. We got a pencil sharpener, they got a pencil sharpener. We got a mobile satellite uplink, they don't.
It is a local news battle fought in the sky on KU-band satellites. And it all starts with an idea and a broadcast engineer known as Dr. Dish.
Well, I think the original idea for Conus goes back to around 1978. I was working at Channel 5 at the time and was part of the team that put together the first microwave trucks. And as we got electronic news gathering going, it became clear to me as a sort of an enthusiast of what was going on in space and satellites that one day it would be possible to do essentially the same thing we were doing with microwaves, but with satellites.
And in the summer of 1984, Conus becomes a reality in Minneapolis, St. Paul. By fall, Conus is helping a small group of local stations exchange news stories in daily news feeds. But it is Conus members' ability to quickly move satellite trucks to the breaking news story providing live coverage that makes the difference. The first SNG shot comes from a small Wisconsin town devastated by a tornado. That event changes the way we cover news for the next decade and beyond. 1985. Remember? Madonna gets married. The royal couple comes to the White House. And oh yes, someone named Gloria tears up and down the East Coast.
The height of the hurricane is just a few hours away from us now, and people have made about all the preparations they can. Now it's up to Gloria.
The first really big story we did was Hurricane Gloria, which came up in like late August or September of '85. That's what put us on the map. Up until that time, we were just kind of this little thorn in the network side. The stations who used us or were members, you know, they were like renegades, and they didn't really pay, the networks didn't really pay that much attention to us. But with Hurricane Gloria, they really stood up and took notice because the stations that used us at that time just blew their competition away. They were able to go live from the hurricane, right inside it, and that had really never been done before.
Reporting via the exclusive News Star Network, I'm meteorologist Dennis Felkin in Williamston, North Carolina.
Everybody knows that Conus pretty much made its reputation on the hurricanes. And that was really true in terms of proving the live technology that we believed worked, and everybody else got a chance to see it work. I think the first time that the technology and the editorial in a really big way came together is probably in one of the stories that people currently working remember most, and that's the explosion of the space shuttle.
Challenger, go at throttle up.
Roger, go throttle up. 1 minute 15 seconds. Velocity 2,900 feet per second. Altitude 9 nautical miles. Downrange distance 7 nautical miles. Flight controllers here looking very carefully at the situation. Obviously a major malfunction.
Was the first real look at how local stations were strong enough editorially to do this, that the cooperative could work because each member of the cooperative that had part of that story in their area was involved, jumped into it right away, and all of a sudden we had the elements for every member of that group of an incredible story, again probably a story that everybody is going to remember in their top 10, where was I when this happened? And the cooperative proved that it was more than just an engineering tool, more than just a shiny truck that you could do something with. It was a very powerful editorial tool as well.
We come together today to mourn the loss of 7 brave Americans, to share the grief that we all feel, and perhaps in that sharing to find the strength to bear our sorrow and the courage to look for the seeds of hope.
With President Reagan in the White House, 1986 also brings us Iran-Contra, and local stations turn their attention to the nation's capital. Conus responds with a new service called TV Direct from a new Washington bureau.
My role in that was zero. I know nothing about it until it came out.
If you should insist on my testifying at this time, I will respectfully and regretfully have to decline.
I don't think there is another person in America that wants to tell this story as much as I do, sir.
With your help and with your prayers, a son of Greek immigrants named Mike Dukakis can be the next president of the United States.
1987, Michael Dukakis wants to be president. Gary Hart wants it too, but Hart falls in disgrace.
Candidate. I know I could have been a very good president, particularly for these times. But apparently now we'll never know.
And an even bigger fall takes place on Wall Street. The Dow drops more than 500 points on Black Monday. And deep in the heart of Texas, the bravest little girl in the world lies cold and damp at the bottom of a well. Conus lets the whole world watch via satellite. By now, Conus has grown to 80 members strong and is joined internationally by Fuji TV in Japan. It is an election year. Bush and Dukakis duke it out. A national park burns in Wyoming. Hurricane Gilbert roars onto the Gulf Coast. Conus offers more than 400 satellite feeds and live shots for member stations. August 31st, Delta Airlines Flight 1141 slams to the runway in a huge wind shear. Conus coverage involves 5 SNG trucks from 4 cities. Another year, another series of major news events unfolds. Overseas, the Berlin Wall starts tumbling down. World politics takes a dramatic turn, and the World Series is shaken to a halt in San Francisco. In the first 36 hours after the quake, Conus offers more than 200 live reports. In Sioux City, Iowa, a plane tumbles down the runway in flames with cameras rolling. It was a very big year. The Exxon Valdez runs aground. A gunman goes crazy in a Stockton schoolyard. And Pete Rose is banned from baseball.
This is All News Channel.
In 1990, Conus, in partnership with Viacom, launches All News Channel into its first full year.
Ignition on the 8th attempt.
1991, America goes to war in the Middle East. And as the news wars continue back home, Conus moves closer to home. Conus regional managers are sent into the field to respond more quickly to the needs of Conus members. A new 10-year agreement for satellite capacity is signed, assuring Conus SNG operations into the next century. And it wasn't long before Conus stations put that satellite capacity to the test. Election night, 1992. Conus Control handles more than 700 live shots on a record-setting 18 simultaneous satellite paths.
But you ought to be ashamed of yourself for jumping on my wife. You're not worth being on the same platform.
I'll tell you something, Mr. Clinton.
I don't believe that we should glorify illegitimacy.
Look at me, Frank. Am I glamorous?
The message that it was sending.
What planet is he on? European.
I'm not going to take any sleazy questions like that from CNN.
Ohio wants change. America wants change. And Ohio cast 144 votes for the next president of the United States, Bill Clinton.
I will be the comeback kid. Good night, and God bless you all. Thank you.
This fellow they've nominated claims he's the new Thomas Jefferson. Well, let me tell you something. I knew Thomas Jefferson.
I saw the chance to rid our children's dreams of the nuclear nightmare, and I did.
Who am I? Why am I here?
It is a year for new names in the news. King, Brasino, Powell, Kuhn, and Denny. But it's the name Andrew that really gets our attention.
As a result of the hurricane being upgraded to a Category 4, we have upgraded and increased our evacuation orders to include new areas.
It's quiet, it's dark, it's about 4 hours before the front edge of Hurricane Andrew will likely smash right into this city.
And this is only in the very early stages.
Early stages. At this point, I would say the winds were probably no more than 60, gusting at 60 miles an hour.
It's pretty awesome what Mother Nature can do. I've seen it all the way up. Trees down, power lines down. Pretty awesome.
When they say that your life flashes in front of you before you die, it does. Everything flashes.
I spent a lot of money. I just put up like $13,000. Oh, God.
She really didn't think she was going to come back to this. She, you know, in her mind, she thought she was going to have a home.
We see the devastation. We've been part of the destruction. We can look with despair. We can be hopeless, discouraged, and disillusioned. Or we can continue to make stone soup.
It'll be weeks before power is restored, months before homes are rebuilt, and years before lives are returned to normal.
You're really leaving here with the sense that, hey, we can make it through this.
You always have hope. You can start over and build over as long as you've got our lives. That's what's important.
(1993) becomes the year of Earth, Wind, and Fire. An earthquake rocks L.A. The flood of the century drowns the Midwest. And fire consumes a compound in Waco. And there's more. The World Trade Center is bombed. A train wrecks in Mobile. Prisoners riot in Ohio. It is an uncertain future in the news business. The next major news event is just a bulletin away. But one thing is certain. The Conus Cooperative is here to serve you. Over the last 10 years, Conus has grown, but our mission remains the same: to provide local broadcasters the independence, the options, and the technical capability they need to determine their own destinies in an evolving industry. You are part of the elite force in television news, now and in the future.